Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's the beginning of the season, and with the beginning of the season you can either go two ways. You can either go the try-hard route and grind for that amazing win rate because the games at the beginning of the season are pretty easy. Or you could go the fun route and try things that wouldn't work in any other rank. And I kind of went for the fun route. This video is just meant to be something that is fun, silly. I don't recommend any of the teams that I'm going to use in this video, but I'm an artist and I love colors, so I just wanted to do like a rainbow challenge in GBL where I create different colored teams and then I try to win with those. And of course, like any other challenge video, there are going to be some rules. So the rules for this challenge are that I have 10 different teams. Each team is a certain color, so we're going to have pink, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, brown, and white. I know black, brown, and white technically aren't part of the rainbow, but I wanted to include all the colors I could. And basically what I have to do is I have to try to win with each team before I can move on to the next color. So let's say I start with pink. I have to get a win with the pink team before I can move on to the red. And I know because I chose to make this video during the beginning of the season, the games are going to be a lot easier, but some of these teams honestly wouldn't work in higher ranks. However, if this video gets like, let's say 300 likes, I've never reached 300 likes, I will try this challenge again when I reach Legend. Also, please consider leaving a like. I drew so many Pokemon for this video and it took forever. With that being said, let's get into this challenge. These games are going to be quite something. Up first, we're going to have the pink team. For the pink team, I chose Wigglytuff, Alomomola, and Mew. Now, I know this team isn't great, but the goal of this video wasn't to create great teams. It was to create a team that would most closely match the color that I wanted it to match. So, this is a pretty team. It's all pink. Anyways, moving on to the first match, we are going to get instantly hard countered with a Skarmory on the lead, and we are running Wigglytuff. Now Skarmory is going to be running Steel Wing because of the move update. I swap into Mew, which is my safe swap, and my opponent catches a Surf on their Lantern. Really well played by my opponent. Already rank 1, and we are getting outplayed by our opponents. The opponent is, of course, going to be able to win this against Mew. I went for a Wild Charge, it got shielded, and the second Wild Charge is also going to take their final shield. Unfortunately, we're not able to take this Lantern out. I'm going to bring back in Wigglytuff, and I'm just going to charm it all the way down. Unfortunately, we are going to have to take these charge moves from this Lantern. And I think, actually, they're going to be able to take us out completely with the Lantern because they're going to reach another Surf here and take us out. But I want my final shield for my Alomomola because they led Skarmory and they left with a Brave Bird. So they're going to bring back in Skarmory, and I think this is going to be the Brave Bird, so I'm going to go ahead and shield. It is. We shield that successfully, and then they bring in Whiscash, and this is basically game over for us. I don't even think a Hydro Pump would KO this Whiscash, but I'm going to go ahead and go for a Psychic because I forgot that Psychic got nerfed, and this does absolutely nothing. Look at that. So sad. So we're not going to be able to take this first game. Even if I take the Whiscash out with a Psychic, the Skarmory is going to be able to reach a move and take out Alomomola. It is in Sky Attack range now, so it doesn't even have to go for the Brave Bird. And unfortunately, the first game of the season, we lose it. So much for that beginning of season win streak, right guys? But anyways, moving on to the next match, the algorithm still doesn't want to be nice to me. We lead Wigglytuff into a Bastiodon, and I am going to swap in Mew and hope for the best, and they bring in Trevenant. I have nothing that will hit for neutral on this Mew. The fast move is doing super effective, but the Surf and the Wild Charge are going to do absolutely nothing to this Trevenant. However, we do manage to get a shield from them, so I am going to bring in Wigglytuff now and charm this Trevenant all the way down. However, this Bastiodon, I can't do anything to it, so I'm stuck in that match against the Bastiodon, and then my opponent has a Venusaur in the back. We couldn't get even more hard countered in this game. Venusaur, I'm not even going to be able to land a Psychic on it. It is going to outpace me to 2 more Frenzy Plants. It's going to take my final shield now, and then the second Frenzy Plant is going to land, take out my Alomomola, and then my Wigglytuff is not going to do anything. against this. Well, I can Icy Wind it, but the Bastiodon in the back is still full health. So unfortunately, we lose the second game of the season. I mean, skill issue, I guess. But finally, we catch a lead in the third game. We get a Hariyama lead. It's running Bullet Punch, however, so that's going to be doing super effective to the Wigglytuff. And my opponent swaps in Zangoose, and Zangoose is going to be running Shadow Claw and Night Slash, which are both resisted by Wigglytuff. It's looking like I might be able to sweep an entire team with just Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff got Icy Wind recently in the new move updates, and I'm just going to go for these Icy Winds against this Magneton. And the second one does go through. We take their first shield with the first one, and then they bring back in the Hariyama, and I am going to swap into Alomomola because the Bullet Punches are not going to be doing anything. Gonna let the close combat go through because Alomomola is tanky, and we finally get a win with the pink team. Now we can move on to the red team. The red team is going to be Electrode on the lead with Buzzwole and Scissor in the back. I am aware that this team has so many weaknesses. I do not recommend it. At first I was running Charjabug instead of the Electrode, and then I realized if I see one Talonflame, my entire team is toast. I will literally get roasted alive. I am also aware that this team is very weak to Mud Boys, so hopefully I don't get a Mud Boy. So on the lead, guess what we get? We get a Talonflame. There it is. Thank goodness I changed the Charjabug for an Electrode. This would have been very tricky if I had Charjabug. But I'm going to go ahead and shield the flame charges because I need to take this out. My backline absolutely cannot see this Talonflame. I think one Incinerate is enough to take out my Shadow Scissor. I'm running Shadow Scissor, by the way. So we're able to take out their first shield with the first discharge, and then the second one lands, and we're able to take out their Talonflame. Thank goodness it is out of the way. My opponent brings in Lickitung, and I actually don't want them to farm down my Electrode because energy on any Pokemon for my squishy backline can be very bad for me. So I do swap into that Scissor, and they bring in Azumarill. This is actually very good. I'm so glad that we were able to draw out the Azumarill here, and I get 2 boosts with Night Slash. This is the only reason I was able to win this game, because the 2 boosts made it so that the Bullet Punches were hurting the Azumarill a lot. Remember, Azumarill is part Water type and part Fairy type, so it is going to be taking neutral from Steel type moves. So we're able to take the Azumarill out going straight Night Slash. And then my opponent brings back in Lickitung, and for some reason they go for Power Whip against our Buzzwole. Power Whip is resisted. We are able to reach a lunge and debuff the Lickitung. Before they reach a Body Slam, we're able to take them out, and we take that win. And thank goodness we get the win on the first try, because I do not want to run this team again. I saw the Talonflame on the first game that I ran with this team. I don't want to run it again. But you know what's even more unbalanced than the red team? The orange team. This is probably the most unbalanced team I am going to run in this video. I call this team the Rock Types Don't Exist team. Do not have Rock Throw. I am not getting swept by a Soul Rock. Okay, so I have to try to take this Soul Rock out with my Dragonite. Thankfully it is running Confusion, but the Confusions are still hurting. It is an underpowered Soul Rock, however. I go ahead and I take out as much of its health as I can with my Dragonite, and then I bring in my Magcargo because I want to draw out a Water type. I know this is still the beginning of the season, but it is very possible that my opponent has a Water type in the back, and guess what? They have a Vaporeon. At least we're going to see it here, and we're going to be able to debuff it with the Rock Tombs. The first one is going to get their final shield, and then the second one is going to be able to land. Now my opponent brings in a Charizard before we're able to take out their Vaporeon. It is running Air Slash, which means it is not going to be able to reach its charge moves as fast as I am. I'm running Wing Attack. That is the correct move to run, and I'm going to be able to get it low enough to where a Dragon Claw is going to be able to KO the Charizard, and we'll have 2 loaded up, 1 for the Charizard and 1 for the Vaporeon. Gonna take out the Vaporeon with a Dragon Claw. GG's to our opponent. We were able to take that win. I wasn't scared, but that Soul Rock was a little bit concerning. I definitely feel like the algorithm tried something there. We are able to get 3 wins in our first set. That is just unfortunate. I know it's the first set of the season and they're supposed to be so easy, but we got hard countered in the first 2 games and there was nothing I could do. Still tried my best though. At least we're able to get past the orange team. I don't want to use this team again. But moving on to the yellow team, it is going to consist of Lickitung on the lead, shiny Lickitung. I told myself that if I had a shiny that was in the matching color for the color I wanted to use, I could use it. So we have the yellow Lickitung on the lead. Hypno is going to be our safe swap, and we have that Kanto Ninetales in the back, Shadow Kanto Ninetales. Now I feel like this team is pretty balanced. You have the Lickitung on the lead, which is going to be covering water types with that Power Whip for the Kanto Ninetales. And Hypno is just a really decent safe swap. Now on the lead, I'm going to be seeing a Shadow Swampert. I don't want the Shadow Swampert to see my backline because I actually can't really handle it that well with Kanto Ninetales and with the Hypno. Hypno is going to be running Thunder Punch and Shadow Ball, so it needs to land a Shadow Ball to take out the Swampert. The confusions are going to hurt though. But I'm going to go straight for Body Slams, going to build up to the Power Whip just to make my opponent think that I'm going for the Power Whip. We get a shield out of them, that's good. And then I'm just going to go for this Body Slam before my opponent can reach a second Hydro Cannon, because the next Hydro Cannon is unfortunately going to be taking us out. I probably should have gone for that Power Whip though, because my opponent did no shield and the Body Slam was not enough to take it out. Now my opponent blind swaps into Clodsire, and once you see what he has in the back, this is actually a huge mistake on their part. I'm going to be able to do super effective damage with the confusions because of Clodsire's poison typing. Now we managed to get them into the red, and here they go for a Sludge Bomb. I know it's not going to take us out, so I'm not going to shield. I'm going to save my final shield for my Kanto Ninetales, and I'm going to bring it in immediately, farm down the Clodsire, and then they bring in a Frostlass. Now I was counting, they only did 6 Powder Snows, which means it's an Avalanche. I'm going to go ahead and no-shield the Avalanche, and we're able to just Ember down both of their final Pokemon. My opponent quits, and we take that win. Moving on to the green team, we are going to be using Serperior on the lead with Shadow Flygon in the back and Politoed in the back. Now, I am going to be running Politoed with Weather Ball and Ice Beam. Fun fact, I actually built the Politoed just for this video because I thought it was the perfect shade of green. But anyways, on the lead, we're going to be seeing a Galvantula. This is kind of tricky. I am weak to Galvantula in the back, and this Serperior actually is going to be taking super effective from these lunges, and we're going to be getting debuffed. Now, I do swap into Flygon. It is my only answer for Galvantula. It's not the best move to swap into it, and we draw out a Azumarill. Now, I did manage to take one shield from the Galvantula when I threw the Aerial Ace. So we are going to be able to land the first Earth Power, and then the second Earth Power goes unshielded, and it's enough to take the Azumarill out. And then my opponent, top left, I was really curious to see what they had in the back, and unfortunately we built the Politoed and we didn't even get to use it. That was quick. Moving on to the next team, we are going to have the blue team. It is going to be Alolan Sandslash on the lead with Azumarill and Swampert in the back. Both the Sandslash and the Swampert are going to be Shadows. Now, I did have Hydro Pump on my Azumarill, but I'm going to go ahead and change it to Ice Beam because I feel like I have more coverage in the current meta with Ice Beam, and I can get to it faster, especially against the Flyers. It is going to be doing neutral to most of the Flyers like Pelipper, Skarmory, and Talonflame. It's also going to be neutral for most of the Mud Boys, and I have that grass coverage, which is nice for a backline that's pretty weak to grass. Anyways, on the lead, we are going to be seeing a really good lead of Venusaur, and it is running Razor Leaf, which means it can't get to its charge moves fast. I'm going to go for these Ice Punches, and one, I believe, should be enough to take out the Venusaur. They go ahead and shield the first Ice Punch, and I am going to shield whatever move they throw at us because Sandslash is a little bit squishy, and I need the Sandslash aligned to this Venusaur because my backline cannot see it. It is very weak to grass. I'm gonna go for a second Ice Punch, and thankfully they let it go. Now my opponent brings in Talonflame, and they're able to incinerate us down before I react and swap into my Swampert. That's fine. I'm gonna go ahead, bring in Swampert, and shield the first move that they throw at us. It turns out to be a Brave Bird, and then I'm going to farm up as much as I can before my opponent can reach another move. We take the Talonflame out with a Hydro Cannon, and then my opponent is going to bring in an Ampharos. Now I have so much energy for this Ampharos. Gonna go for a Hydro Cannon, and it puts up in the red. Unfortunately, we lose CMP to the Ampharos, and they go ahead and Brutal Swing us, but it is not enough to take us out. We're able to reach a second Hydro Cannon and take out the Ampharos. GG's to my opponent, and I think this is the most balanced team I've run in this video. This is actually very meta. But the next team is going to be the purple team. Now for the purple team, I decided to go with Tapu Fini on the lead and Haunter and Sableye in the back. Now, there are a lot of poison-type Pokemon I could have used that were purple, but the team was going to be extremely weak to Mudboys, so I went with Tapu Fini. But on the lead, unfortunately, we are going to be seeing a Registeel. Now, I do safe swap into my Haunter, and my opponent catches a Shadow Punch on Cresselia, but the Cresselia is running Confusion, and the Confusions are absolutely going to melt Haunter down. They are doing super effective because of Haunter's poison typing. We were able to take a shield from them, however, we were able to get a shield with our second Shadow Punch. They were able to take us out with just Confusions, and they have so much energy to throw at Tapu Fini. Now I have to go for the Surf. I can't farm them down. Ideally, I would have farmed them down because then I would have energy to throw at the Registeel. They're going to bring it back in and then throw a move immediately as soon as they get it, and it looks like they are running Flash Cannon. They're going to take out our Tapu Fini, and then I'm just hoping that my Sableye can clutch up with 2 shields. I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever this Registeel is going to throw at us. It looks like it's running Focus Blast and Flash Cannon, which is really good for us. That means that I won't be getting debuffed from Zap Cannon. I go ahead and I throw a Foul Play, and it takes their final shield. It looks like whatever they have in the back is going to be weak to Sableye. Unfortunately, I do have to shield this Flash Cannon because I want my Sableye to be healthy, and they have a Hitmonchan in the back. All I have to do is reach a return, and it is going to be enough to KO the Hitmonchan. GG's to my opponent, and I respect the Hitmonchan Spice pick. I used to love running Shadow Hitmonchan. It was one of my favorite Pokemon to run. Okay, now moving on to the next team, I wanted to have a gray and black category. So for the gray and black category, we are going to be running Skarmory on the lead with Umbreon and Registeel in the back. Now, of course, this team has a lot of weaknesses, but it kind of looks like it would be strong because you have 3 bulky Pokemon and 3 very meta Pokemon. I did go ahead really quickly and change Skarmory's fast move from Air Slash to Steel Wing because Steel Wing was recently buffed, so we're going to also test out Steel Wing. Now, on the lead, we're going to see a good lead. We have a Venusaur lead, and then my opponent swaps into Swampert. I'm going to swap into Umbreon because I'm kind of ABA weak to Swampert. Now here's the problem. I was expecting my opponent to have another answer for Skarmory in the back, so I kind of have to win this switch. Also, the second Skarmory answer might also be an answer to my Registeel, so that might be a little bit tricky. Now this next Foul Play should put my opponent very low so that we can take out the Swampert. However, they go ahead and invest a shield, which makes sense. They don't want their Venusaur aligned with our Skarmory. I'm going to go ahead and invest a shield myself so that I could get this second Foul Play off. Now they used their final shield, and I'm going to use my final shield as well. But I probably shouldn't have here, and they catch the Foul Play on their Venusaur. I'm going to go ahead and build up to a Foul Play and then swap into my Skarmory. I want the Foul Play saved on my Umbreon in case I need it for the Swampert. The Swampert still has quite a bit of health. It's in the red, but that little bit of health could be deadly for Registeel because Registeel does no fast move damage at all. I am going to be able to completely Steel Wing this Venusaur down, which is good. That means I'm going to have so much energy to throw out whatever my opponent has in the back. Unfortunately, that energy is going to be useless. They have a Stunfisk in the back. I'm going to go for a Sky Attack, and then I'm going to go for a Brave Bird. I probably could have gone for 2 Brave Birds, but it doesn't really matter. Now, I recognize here that they were going to try to farm me down completely with the Stunfisk, so I panic and I bring in Registeel. This was the wrong move for sure. I also could have saved the shield that I used on my Umbreon for the Registeel and shielded the Earthquake, but unfortunately they are going to be able to take out the Registeel. I'm going to bring in Skarmory because the Mud Shots are resisted, and we are going to be able to pressure the Swampert into throwing their energy here, and I'm just hoping that we could farm down the Swampert. We are able to farm it down. Unfortunately, we don't have enough energy for 2 Foul Plays. Even if we had enough energy for 2 Foul Plays, I wouldn't be able to throw the second one because the Stunfisk would win CMP and would be able to get to that Rock Slide and take me out. GG's to our opponent. So we did better on the second set. We got 4 wins, so that's good. But because we lost with this team in the last game, we are going to have to continue with this team until we get a win. Take your guesses now how many attempts it's going to take. Okay, moving on to the next match, we're going to see a terrible lead. We are ABA weak to Talonflame. I'm going to swap in Umbreon because I don't have a better answer to it, unfortunately, so I have to swap my best answer. And they have a Medicham. We are getting so hard countered this game. this Medicham isn't running Dynamic Punch. It looks like it is running Ice Punch. I'm going to go ahead and go for these foul plays to get the Medicham weak. Hopefully I can farm it down with Skarmory and have energy for the Talonflame. Now here I probably shouldn't have thrown the foul play because I need to farm on one of my back Pokemon to have energy for Talonflame, but we are able to take them out and the Talonflame farms us down. It's basically game over for us because they still have 2 shields up. I'm going to go ahead and top left. There is no way I could win that. Moving on to the next game with the same team because we still need a win. We are going to see a Venusaur on the lead. That is a really good lead for us. And my opponent swaps into Mandibuzz. I am going to bring in Registeel now and go for these Zap Cannons. These Zap Cannons are going to be doing super effective to this Mandibuzz. It's already looking good for us in this game. Hopefully I can get this win so that I could stop using a team that's really, really weak to Talonflame and kind of weak to Medicham as well. We land the Zap Cannon and now I just have to go for the Focus Blast because this Mandibuzz is in Focus Blast range. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to farm it down. If I try to farm it down, I'm going to have to take another Dark Pulse and it will be enough to take us out. Now they bring in Swampert and they try to farm us down with Swampert. This is a little bit tricky because it is a Shadow Swampert and it is going to be doing a lot of damage for the Umbreon that I am going to bring in now. They're going to go for a Hydro Cannon. I'm going to go ahead and no shield. I still have both my shields and they have 1 shield down. Now they do swap out of Swampert into their Venusaur. I'm going to bring in Skarmory immediately. They go for a Sludge Bomb here. Now the correct move is to go for the Frenzy Plant because Frenzy Plant is actually going to be doing more damage. Now they do go for a Frenzy Plant here, and because this is a Shadow Venusaur, it does a decent chunk of damage. I'm going to go ahead and go for the Sky Attack because I felt like I couldn't take another move from the Venusaur without being in farm range for the Swampert. I'm going to go ahead and go for a Sky Attack on the Swampert. We take their final shield, and now I'm just going to decide to double shield my Skarmory. I should be able to reach a Brave Bird before the Swampert can reach a 3rd move, and this Brave Bird is going to be enough to KO the Swampert. GG's to our opponent. But yeah, this team, which I thought was going to be an easy win, it took me 3 attempts to get a win with this team. That's because it's unbalanced. Anyways, moving on to the next team, it is going to be the Brown team. For the Brown team, I chose Staraptor, Diggersby, and Greedent. I thought this team was going to be pretty good as well because it is kind of balanced. You have Staraptor on the lead, which can take care of fighters, and you have Diggersby in the back, which can take care of the anti-flyers like steel types, and then Greedent is a nice safe swap. Now Staraptor and Greedent both got move updates this season. Staraptor got Fly and Greedent got Trailblaze, so we're going to be testing those out as well. We did get a really nice lead in this match of Victory Bell into our Staraptor. My opponent goes ahead and swaps into Bastiodon, and I am going to bring in Diggersby. I'm going to go ahead and go for a Scorching Sands against this Bastiodon. This should put it in farm down range. I am running Mudshot, so I should be able to farm this Bastiodon completely before it can reach another move. Now they do bring in that Shadow Victory Bell again. I'm going to go for a Scorching Sands. They go ahead and they shield, and I reach a second one. I'm going to go ahead and throw it, and it takes out the Shadow Victory Bell, and they have a Wigglytuff in the back. I still have both shields up, so I should be able to take this game really easily. I'm going to go for a Hyper Beam and then swap into my Greedent and completely Mudshot this Wigglytuff down. We didn't even get to try the Trailblaze. GG's to our opponent, and now we are going to move on to the final team of this video. It is going to be the White team. For the White team, I chose to run Dewgong on the lead with 2 flyers in the back. The 2 flyers are going to be Altaria and Togetic. I'm really excited for this one. I don't get to use Togetic that often. So on the lead against our Dewgong, we are going to be seeing a Gardevoir. I have to try to take this Gardevoir out with this Dewgong. I'm going to go straight for that Icy Wind and debuff it because the charms are hurting quite a bit. And my opponent decides to no shield. The Icy Wind absolutely hurts his Gardevoir, and we're able to Ice Shard it down with our Dewgong before it can reach a move. Now my opponent brings in a pure ground type. They bring in Sand Slash, and they no shield a super effective Icy Wind. Unfortunate for our opponent, we are able to take out most of its health, and then I swap in Togetic just to draw out whatever my opponent has in the back in case they have an anti-flyer and I still need that Dewgong. But they don't, they just have a Flareon, and it's looking like our Altaria is easily going to be able to take care of both of their back Pokemon. Unfortunate for my opponent, they did get RPS by us, and also they are not running the best Pokemon for Great League, but I do wish them all the best luck in their coming matches. And that brings us to the end of our video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys liked the challenge. Let me know what you guys think of the challenge, and if I should attempt it again in the future. Like I said, this was pretty easy because it was at the beginning of the season. If I try it again at Legend, I think it'll be a lot more difficult for me. If you guys like my videos, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like, it'll help me out a ton, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!